Okay, so Dr. Sarabjit, I think we should start with the session and students will continue joining the meeting.
Okay. So very good morning to all the participants. And today's topic for discussion is NumPy. So let's start with that. So let's first try to understand what NumPy is. Now, NumPy is a library consisting of multi-dimensional arrays, as you can see on the screen. So one very important thing that we would be doing with NumPy is that we would be creating a multi-dimensional array support. We would be creating multi-dimensional array objects. Now, the requirement for arrays is there in many scientific applications, engineering applications, and technical applications also. So in those applications, NumPy provides the support in the form of giving you the ability to create multi-dimensional arrays. And no problem. Okay, you can create multi-dimensional arrays objects in a NumPy, and with that you can also perform various array operations on it very efficiently. Like later on, if you have to add big matrices, if you have to multiply matrices, if you have to perform, let's say, bitwise operations on those matrices, or you have to concatenate big matrices, then all those operations can be performed very efficiently using NumPy. You will see later on that NumPy will be used in scikit-learn library, which is a library for writing machine learning based applications. NumPy will be used in OpenCV also, which is basically a computer vision related library. NumPy is used in Pandas also. So there are so many things, so many modules that rely on NumPy. And one very fundamental thing that NumPy provides is the support to you to create multi-dimensional array objects. And along with this support, it also provides you many routines, many functions, to perform different kinds of operations on those arrays. So using NumPy, mathematical and logical operations on arrays can be performed very efficiently. And NumPy is often used along with other packages like SciPy is there. SciPy is scientific Python basically. So NumPy basically stands for numerical Python. It gives you numeric processing related capabilities. And it is also used in combination with SciPy. SciPy stands for scientific Python. And from scientific Python, you get the support like linear algebra and Fourier transforms and signal processing, image processing also. Then statistics is also there. So these kind of features are provided by the scientific library. And when you combine these two things, NumPy and SciPy, you really get a powerful environment at your disposal, which can be considered equivalent to MATLAB also. So many of you might have heard this name also, MATLAB. And at present, this combination NumPy and SciPy and Matplotlib library, this combination is being used as a replacement for MATLAB. And the participants which are into the research arena, they might be knowing what MATLAB is. So this combination, NumPy, SciPy, these two things we will cover today, along with Matplotlib, is giving you a very powerful scientific and technical environment to build your applications. Now, the most important object defined in NumPy is the n-dimensional array type. N-dimensional array. We will call it as ND array. So I've written it in this code block, ND array. So we are going to create ND array first, and then we will see what different kinds of operations we can perform on this ND array. So what ND array describes is it describes the collection of items of the same type. I think most of you already know the concept of array. Array is the collection of homogeneous data items. So in the same way, your ND array is also going to have the items of the same type. And the items in this collection can be accessed using the zero-based index. So simply means that the index of your array would be starting from 0. And the basic ND array is created using using an array function in NumPy. So very shortly we are going to see how we create it. Then every item in an array takes the same size of block in memory. So this is another characteristic of ND array. And each element in ND array is an object of data type object. I think when we were discussing object-oriented programming at that time, also I told you that the root level class in Python is object. Ultimately, each and everything is going to be the object of type object, OBJECT. And a little bit introduction about SciPy also. So in the second session, we basically talk about SciPy modules. But SciPy basically is a Python library for mathematics, science, and engineering disciplines. And SciPy library depends on NumPy, which provides convenient and fast n-dimensional array manipulation. So for the time being, please understand that from NumPy, you would be getting the support to create multi-dimensional arrays. NumPy also gives the supports, the features to perform various operations on those NumPy arrays. And then this NumPy array, NumPy would be taken as a base support by the SciPy to provide you higher level features like signal processing is there, linear algebra is there, Fourier transforms, numerical integration, optimization, interpolations. So all these higher level features are provided by the SciPy. But at the base level, SciPy use NumPy for SciPy use NumPy for storing data. And in most of these applications, data is stored in the form of arrays. So today's discussion is devoted to NumPy only. We'll be seeing how we can create different kinds of arrays and what different kinds of operations can be performed on that. So let's start with defining our very simple array. So we will see first how we can create 1D array. So first thing you need to do is importing NumPy package. So for that you would be writing import NumPy as NP. So in most of the code blocks you will see NumPy is imported like this. Import NumPy as NP. But you can give any other name as per you're comfortable, like import NumPy as N or import NumPy as ABC, whatever whatever name you want to give to this importer library you can give. But most of the time we would be proceeding with this import NumPy as NP. Then in order to create one-dimensional array, so you can simply make a call to array function like this, np dot array, and then you pass certain elements like 1, 2, 3, and if you will print a, then it will simply print the elements of the array. So this is a very simple way to create one-dimensional array. Yes, you can increase the dimension. We will see how we can create now 2D array, and for that you need to understand this syntax np dot array. Then in now 2 square brackets you would be mentioning the data. Why? Because 2-dimensional arrays are an array of 1-dimensional array. So let me create a 3x2 matrix. So you can understand how a 3x2 matrix can be created using np dot array function. Be like this. So here you might have noted that I have specified 3 lists, 1, 2, then 3, 4, and then this 5, 6. So these three lists will be considered as the rows for this 2D array. And this 1 and 2, because there are 2 elements in this list, these things would be considered as the column. If I print A and if I execute this, so you can see the 2-dimensional array has been displayed by the NumPy system as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there are 3 rows and 2 columns. Now, when you are creating one-dimensional array, at that time also you can mention the dimensions like this. If I write A is equal to np dot array and then write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the elements. So with this parameter n dimension n div is equal to 2. So please note down this parameter n dimension n d-m-i-n is equal to 2. So using this syntax also you can create two-dimensional arrays. So let me execute this code, and if I print A, so you will see now it is a two-dimensional array. Now try to understand the difference. See here, this 1, 2, 3 is a one-dimensional array, so it is being listed in single square bracket, one list here 1, 2, 3. But when you say this 1, 2, 3 is a two-dimensional array, when the dimension specified is 2, it would be listed as list of list. Two-dimensional arrays as the array of one-dimensional arrays. So here you can see two square brackets. So these indicates that this is a two-dimensional entity. So two-dimensional entity we have passed over here. But in that two-dimensional array, there is only one element, and that is this list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now next, while creating arrays, you can mention the data types of the objects also, like what kind of objects you are going to store in that array. For example, if I write A is equal to np dot array, and in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with the d type is equal to int, then this array structure is being created to hold integer values. So try to understand this attributes d type. D type is equal to integer. So with this, we are mentioning the data type of objects that are going to be hold by this array. So after that, if I now print A, again 2, 3, 4, 5 is being printed. Now the data type, other data types that you can mention over here are the float data type also. So if I write again this array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but with the data type float, and now if I run the program, we will get the output like this: 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot. So please see the difference. If it is integers, the system is simply displaying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if it is float, the elements are being displayed as 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot. So this means that these are the float elements. Another data type that you can mention over here is the character. So in this case, these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be treated as the character elements. So if I run it, not character but string, sorry, it as a string. So you will see these elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now these are being treated as a string by the NumPy system. Besides this, you can also mention the data type as bool, means boolean. So now if you run the program, you will see the output like this: true, true, true. So because all the non-zero values are taken as the boolean values. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all values are non-zero, so all values are true. But if I make this third element 0, and let's say this fifth element as false, and second element, let's say we make it negative, see what kind of response we get from the system. So now you would be getting it as true, true, false, true, true. See, one is true, this -2 is also true. So in NumPy system, the negative values, if something is not 0, if something is even negative, that is also considered as true. But this 0 value is being taken by the system as false, and 4 is true, and false, okay, again this is be taken by the system as a false. So integer data type, then string data type, float data type, boolean data type, and there is one more data type available, that is complex. Now, because I have already told you that this combination NumPy and SciPy is being used in many, in building many scientific and engineering applications. So in those applications, many of the time you have to deal with complex numbers also, and we all know that complex numbers are of the form a plus iota b. So the numbers which have two parts, basically real part and the imaginary part. You can also mention the data type of your data as the complex also. Like now, if I execute this program, this code, you will see output like this. Okay, there is some problem. Yes, I forgot to write comma. Now see the output is in the form of complex numbers. So this one is 1 plus 0j. That means to say 1 is the real part and 0 is the imaginary part. Then 2 plus 0j, 3 plus 0j. So this is how you can create, complex numbers also. So I hope that the creation of simple array, 1D array, 2D array with different data types is clear to you. Next, this data type. So you can also create a data type separately in the code. Like what I'm trying to say is that you can create a new data type like this. dt is equal to, let's say, np dot d type. np dot d type means you are creating a data type. And let's say that data type is np dot float 16. Now here you need to understand, like when we said Python supports integer data type, so there are different versions of integers also. Like integer 8 is there, that would be using 8 bytes to store integer values. Integer 16 will be there, that would be using 16 bits. Sorry, integer 8 is using 8 bits, that's 1 byte, and integer 16 is using 2 bytes, 16 bits to store the integer value. Similarly, integer 32 and so on, different integer versions are there. And if we talk about float, then we have float 16, we have float 32, we have float 64 also. So these kind of things are there. And when you are creating string objects, then you can also mention the a maximum size of the string, like S4 or S5. That will mean that you are going to store just 5 characters or 4 characters in that string. So in that sense, in that way, I am using this float 16 data type as a dt is equal to n and float 16. So this dt, this data type is representing this float 16 data type. Now I can use this dt while creating the arrays like this. If I write again, let's say a is equal to np dot array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now see here, d type. Initially we wrote d type is equal to complex, d type is equal to something. So you can also write a d type is equal to this dt. And what this dt is, np dot float. And if now you print the value of a, so you will see the data type for these numbers have been taken as the float value. Now you can also create you can represent the data of a table also using this np array, because later on you will see when you would be doing panda or when you would be doing machine learning programming. So you will see that this array has the ability to store bigger objects, other complex objects also. So let's look at this example also. Let's say dt is equal to np dot d type. Now let's say age variable of type np dot integer 8, and let's say a is equal to np dot array, then 10, 20, 30 with d type is equal to. So here also we have created a data type dt is equal to np dot d type, but now we have given it a name as age of this type, np integer 8. So system would be using 8 bits to store this age value. It would be represented in 8 bits integer. then A is equal to np.array 10, 20, 30, and D type again we have mentioned as DT. Now, if we print, A, then in square bracket age, and we would be able to access this array. We run this program, where you can see how we can access different values of this array using this index age. And similarly, let's say we are creating a student data type like this np.d type, where the first type, let's say, is your name, comma s3. So here you see here we mentioned that age is of type integer, 8 bits. So here you are mentioning that name is another column that would be there in our array, and in that column we would be storing a string of at most 3 characters. So this s3 means string data type at most 3 characters. Now, comma, let's say along with this name we are also going to mention a also. Then age, for that age we can mention the data type as integer 8. Then let's say another entity in our array, the marks, with the data type float, let's say 16. how we have created complex data type. So first I will name holding at the most 3 characters. So its type is string. Second column age holding 8-bit integer value. Third column marks holding is 16-bit float value. Now if I say student array is equal to np dot array sorry. Now say Amit 2080. So what I am doing now is, so I am mentioning these 3 values because in the previous statement we mentioned that our rows are going to have this format: first name value, then age value, and then marks value. And when you are creating an array, so, your array must match this syntax. That is, first you need to mention the name, then this 20 would be considered as the age, and this 80 will be considered as the marks. Comma, you can mention another row for this array also, and let's say our second student is Vikas, having age 21 and the marks be 25. Now here comma, you need to mention that this D type is equal to student. So because this student type you have created over here, so the name of this student, which is the type you created, and this student data is equal to student, this must match. And now if I write print student array, you must get input output like this. So here you can see you have the system has displayed 2 values. First is this Amit 2080. Amit is the name stored in 3 characters. So see, because the data type mentioned is S3 string 3, it is holding at the most 3 characters only, not the full Amit, but first 3 characters. But if I make it 10 over here, say name as 10, then you will see the all the rows have been displayed properly. Amit, name of the student, age and marks, name, age and marks. So this is how you can store heterogeneous data items also in NumPy array. Another important characteristic or attribute of this array is the shape property and the n-dimensional property. So how you can access those things. So let's try to understand with the help of example. Let's say A is equal to np dot array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a one-dimensional array, and create one more array np dot array. Let's say that is our array 1, 2, then and then let's say 5 comma 6, but I need to put it in double square brackets because this is a two-dimensional array. So two-dimensional arrays are specified like this. So if you run this code, okay, there are no problems. So now try to understand what do we mean by a shape attribute and the n-dimensional attribute. So if I write print dot, then it will display the shape of the first array as 5. So 5 means this first array is a one-dimensional array and it is holding 5 values. Its size is 5. But if you write print b dot shape, then you will see it is displaying 3 by 2. So this means this is a 3 by 2 matrix having 3 rows. 3 rows means first row is your 1 2, second row is 3 4, and next row is 5 6. So if we display it, this print b, or here we can print a also. So you'll say, see this a one-dimensional array size is 5 only. Then b two-dimensional arrays. Two-dimensional array in the sense it is having information in the form of rows and it is having 3 rows 1 2 3. So that's why the size is 3 and 2 columns. So the overall size becomes 3 by 2. So I hope this thing is clear. But if you create a array like this, let's say C is equal to 10, we will consider like 1 2 3 4 5, but here with number of dimensions, and dimension is equal to 4. Now we will see what happens. So now if I use these statements comment and I write print c dot shape, and then if I write now print c dot n dimensional, system will display like this. So when we say our array is having 4 dimensions, these are the 4 dimensions: 1 2 3 and 4. In the 4th dimensional, you have stored a one-dimensional array consisting of 5 objects, and this is 1 2 3 4 5. And n-dimensional give you a number, total number of dimension 4. Shape will display the length of the axis, 4 axes, 4 dimensions, that is 1 1 1. That is first dimension is holding 1 element, second dimension is holding 1 element, third dimension is also holding 1 element, and then in the last dimension, in the 4th dimension, there are 5 elements. So this is the meaning of shape attribute and n-dimensional attribute, that will just give you the shape of your array in the form of row and column if it is a 2-dimensional matrix, or in the form of A cross B cross C if it's a 3-dimensional entity. And n-dimensional will give you a single number representing the total number of dimensions of your array. Now, next attribute that we will discuss is reshape attribute. Now, what do we mean by that? Consider let's create an array, np dot array, or we can use a range function, range. Now try to understand what is a range function will do. It will give you a range of integer, range of values from this figure to this figure, because the parameter that you have mentioned are 1, 13. It will create a range of numbers from 1 to 13. 13 will not be included, but rather from 1 to 12. So here if you will print A, so you'll see you have created an array of 12 values, and those 12 values are these 1, 2, 3, so on up to 12. So now try to understand what this A range function is doing. A range generating a range of values. First is the start value, and second is the ending value, the index basically. Second value, but this value is not included. So one less than this value is included in the list. So actually now you are creating an array with values starting from 1 to 30 minus 1 is 2. But if you execute this range 13, and now if you will display A, you will see the values from 0 to 12. So again, in this case also, this 13 is not included. This 13 is not inclusive. So 1 less than 13, that is 12. But if you have not mentioned the starting point, then it would be considered as 0. But if you write 4 comma 13, then the elements would be starting from this 4, but again ending with 1 less than this value. In this case 13, that is the numbers from 4 to 12. So so this is how in a single go you can create arrays holding a number of values. So in this practical, let it be 1 to 13 also. So now here if I display A, so you will see that A is a one-dimensional array. If I write print A dot shape or A dot n dimensions, so you will see it is holding 12 elements, and dimension is 1 only. But what this reshape method will do, it will reshape the array. Means you can create a two-dimensional array now from these elements. For example, if I write A is equal to A dot reshape 2, 6. So what this function will do, it will this function will reshape these 12 values in the form of 2 rows and 6 columns. If I display A, you will see now this A has been displayed like this, because the shape we mentioned is 2, 6, 2 rows, 6 columns. So these 12 elements have been arranged in that format, in that shape, 2 rows and 6 columns. So I'll make this thing comment, and if I mention the reshape value as 3, 4, so here now I am mentioning that I want to arrange these 12 elements in the form of 3 rows and 4 columns format. And if I run, you'll see these 12 elements have been arranged in 3 columns and in 3 rows and 4 columns structure form. So I hope the function of this reshape is clear to you. And now if you will display print A dot shape, or if you will print A dot n dimensions, then system will say, okay, now A is not one-dimensional. A is a two-dimensional, structure, and your array is two-dimensional, and the shape has now 3 cross 4, 3 rows, 4 columns. So hope that the purpose of this reshape, characteristics of array is clear to you. Now, there is one more, preview associated with arrays, and that is item size, which returns the length of each element of the array in bytes. So to demonstrate that, let's say we are creating an array like this: x is equal to np dot array, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with the type as np dot integer 32. Now if I execute this statement, print x dot item size, then the system will return me the number 4. So 4 is byte. 4 byte means 8 into 4, 32 bits. And this is what is the, size of the, integer you mentioned while creating that array. So if you will say this is the integer 8, then item size will, give you 1. So this is the utility of this item size property of the array. Another, thing that you should be knowing is how you can, create arrays with random values. So create arrays with the random values. So this is another thing that we will, look at now. Let's create array like this. X is equal to np dot empty 3, 4, comma d type is equal to, now this time let's say np dot float 32. So when you are making a call to, well, when you are creating an array with this method and empty, np dot empty, and this is the size 3 rows 4 columns, then this array will be created, but this array will be created with random values. So if you print x, so you would be getting random values like this. So this is one thing. Second, if you don't want to create array with your random values, but if you want to create array with 0 values, okay, so this is creating arrays with 0 values. So you can now make a call here. In this case, you can make a call to the zeros function, np dot zeros. So if you will write x is equal to np dot zeros, again size is 3, 4, and the data type is float. This time, let's say this is integer 8, and now if I run the program, you will see that a array has been created of size 3 by 4, and now it is filled with 0, not with the random values. So creating an array with random values, creating an array with all zeros, these things should be clear to you. Next, one more thing, creating array with filled with ones only. Creating arrays with filled with 1. So in order to create such arrays, you can make a call to np's ones function. NPS. So see, np.empty creating arrays with random values, np.zeros creating array with 0 values, np.ones creating arrays filled with 1 value. So see the difference: random values, 0 values, and here we are getting the array filled with ones only. Another thing that you must be knowing is how you can convert lists to array. In Python, we have this data type list. So you might be knowing in Python, primarily the 3 basic data types are your of your data structures are your tuple, list, and dictionary. So list is very much similar to this, Python NP, this NumPy is NP array, ND array. But the difference is also in this terms that NumPy arrays are very efficient. Like if you want to process them, if you want to make calculations using those arrays, then NumPy arrays would be giving you the efficiency and not the Python list. But anyways, if you have to convert between Python lists and ND arrays, n-dimensional arrays, then how you can do that thing is demonstrated in this code. So let's create a list like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and if you print this list along with its type, let's say type X, you will see that this X is not a NumPy array, rather this X is a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this object belongs to a class named list. But if I want to construct an ND array, a NumPy array out of this list, this Python list, then I can use NumPy's as array function. So please see its usage: a is equal to np dot as array, and you will pass it this list value. So this function as array So this will return this X as an array, as a NumPy array. See, X currently is a list, but when you will, pass this X to this A as array, and then if you print A and the type of A also, you will realize, you'll see that now this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a NumPy n-dimensional array. So this is how you can, how you can convert list into n-dimensional arrays. Now you can also create arrays from strings. So we will see how that can be done. Creating arrays from strings now. So let's consider this string value. String is equal to byte equivalent of. So in NumPy, it's better if you convert a byte represented string into in a NumPy array. So let me have this string value. String is equal to in bytes. How are you? And if you now execute this statement, A is equal to np dot from string st comma data type is equal to s1. So see how this function will behave. So from string means you are creating an array and a NumPy array from string. String you are passing is this string. How are you? Having this value, and the data type you are mentioning is string at the most 1 character long. So one bytes would be sliced from this string, and then array would be created. For example, if I print A now, in this case, you will see how this is listed. So because data type you mentioned is one character at a time. So H has been moved to first position, and O has been moved to second position. This W has been moved to third position. So this is how the array of characters will get created. But if you mention the data type as S2, now two characters would be stored in one position. So in that case, you need to use from buffer method. So let me demonstrate that. Rather than writing from string, now you should use np dot buffer data type S2. Okay, say now it is saying the buffer size must be a multiple of the element size. Now the size of the elements is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Or let me add one more space to make the total size 12. And if the total size is 12, that can be then sliced into equal size pieces, with each piece having a length of 2. So now if I run the program, yes, now 2 characters have been sliced from this string, and then and those 2 characters are now next position, and so on. So this is how you can create arrays from string. So basically there are 2 methods. One is np dot frame buffer, and another is np dot from string. So I think string will also work if I execute the statement like this. B is equal to np dot from string, and now let's mention the size as S3. So 3 characters would be sliced from the string, and those will be added to the the consecutive indexes of the array. Now if I display B, you'll see how this array has got created. So with 3 characters. So in the different the different objects of this array are the 3 characters from the original string. So I hope that these functions are clear to you. Then arrange function I have already told you. If you want to create an array holding a number of values, number of consecutive values, or lines or arrays with values which are at equal distance from each other. Another important function is line space also. Now, let's create our NP array like this. X is equal to NP dot line space 10, 20, 5, true. Or let's say this only. And print X. So see what has happened. Please try to understand line space method, what this method is doing. It is generating basically 5 values from 10 to 20, and those 5 values are at a similar distance from each other. For example, between 10 to 20, if you consider these 5 values 10, 12.5, 15, 12.5, 20, then you can see the difference between two consecutive values is 2.5. So equally spaced values. So please try to understand the behavior of this function line space, which create array with evenly spaced values. This first element is the start value, this second element is the end value, and this 5 represents the total numbers that you want between these two values, between start and end. So here the meaning is that from 10 to 20 I need 5 equally spaced values. So this function will return you that, and array would be created out of those values. So those values are 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, and 20. Now, we were also passing one more element in the form of true or false. So if I pass this value true, you will see there is no difference in the output. But if I call this function like this 10, 25 false, now you will see that this last value, this end has not been considered. So one less than this end value is considered. And then now in this case, those 5 equally spaced values have become 12, 14, 16, and 18. So 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 are the 5 equally spaced values. Because last element is false, so that's why this 20 is not inclusive. But if this value is true, this means this end value is inclusive. And in that case, those equally spaced values become these 10, 12.5, 15, 17.5, and 20. So I hope this thing is clear. Now another function that you can use to initialize your array is log space function. Let's say x is equal to np dot log space. So if I call this function like this 1, 3, number is equal to 3, and print x. So see, sorry, this is capital A. See, now these 3 values have been returned. Now these 3 values are at now these 3 values are evenly spaced. It may not look like 10, 100, and thousands are not equally spaced, but in reality these are equally spaced in log space. So if you consider a log space with base 10, that you can expressly mentioned over here also, like if I say base is equal to 10. So in a log space with base is equal to 10, if you want 3 equally spaced values, then this function will return that. and those values in our case now are these 10, 100 and 1000. Now this base value can be changed. Here we have considered this decimal number system, but if we want equally spaced values, again log space value, but in base 2, then the output would be like this. Now let's say we need 10 equally spaced values from 1 to 10. So this is starting, this is ending, 1 to 10. Total number that you want, total values, equally spaced values that you need are 10, and the base is 2. Now if you run this program, you'll see these values. So again, it may not look at the first instance that these values are equally spaced, but if you consider the log space with base 2, then these values are equally spaced. This is another utility of the NumPy array. Now we will see how slicing can be done. Slicing and indexing can be done on the NumPy arrays. So for that, we will create a NumPy array with a range of values. Let's see, np dot a range 15, and if I print a, it will display the first 15 values. Now if I say s is the slice, s is equal to slice 3, 15, 3, and if I use this slice s in the array like this, print a s, you'll see what is the output. So from starting from 3, ending up to this figure -1, 15 minus 1, 14, and 3 at a distance of 3. This is basically the step. So you will get 3, 6, 9, 12. This is the meaning of the slice over here. Then if I write print 3, 15, 3. So you'll see that you are getting the same output. So these two statements where you are getting a slice starting from the third element, ending up to this 15 minus 1, and the step size is this 3. So this is equivalent to writing this print 3, 15, 3. And if I mention the step size as being let's say 1 and 1, you'll see now you are getting all the values from 3 to 14. Why? Because the step size you have mentioned is 1. And if I make it 5, see how the output gets changed. The step size becomes 5, 3 to 5, then 8 plus 5, 13, but not this value inclusive 15. So before that your this array will terminate. If you write print a 3, 15, okay, that will also have this effect, starting from third index going up to 14th index, and all the values would be displayed. Let me make these statements comment. And another way of using slicing, let's say if I write 3 column, I think you have studied this thing in the lecture of list also, how slicing can be mentioned on list. So on NumPy arrays also, this slicing happens in the same way. So 3 column means all the values starting from third index onwards. And if you write some blank column 8, so that means starting from the first element till this number -1. So this number minus 1 is 7. So all the values starting from 0 index to 7th index would be displayed. And if you say a minus 5, then that will mean the, sorry, yes, the fifth value from the last. In this case, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that is 10. So this is how, you know, these things behave. The slicing that can be done on NumPy array. And this slicing procedure is very much similar to that which you studied, you know, while you were discussing Python lists. Now you see how slicing of 2D array can be done. So slicing 2D arrays now. So let's create a 2D array first. A is equal to np dot array. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. If I print A, then you'll see this two-dimensional array is displayed. Now, how the slicing in two-dimensional array can be done? If I say print A, one column. So one column means, you know, the rows, you know, first index onwards. Now see, this is the first row, and here the row index is 0. This is the second row, row index is 1. This is the third row, row index is 2. So this 1 means row index 1 onwards, and row index 1 is this one, this onwards. That means to say 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this would be displayed. So this becomes the meaning of slicing over here. Print A, one column, text value, you know, blank, means 1 onwards, 1 index onwards, 1 row index onwards. So this is the output that you will get. But if you specify this one over here at this position, second position, and now if you will run, then you'll see that starting from first, because at first position you have not mentioned anything, going up to this index minus 1, that means to say first row only. So that's why it has displayed first row only. But if you will write 2 over here, then starting from 0 going up to 2 minus 1, that is 1, 0 index and 1 index means the row that 0 index and the 1 index would be displayed. And if you will run this program, so you will see that first row, 2 rows have been displayed. But if you write it like this, 1 column 2, that means to say first row with 1 index going up to, you know, row with this value minus 1 index, and this value minus 1 is again 1. So that means to say the second row will be displayed. So in this case, that is 4, 5, 6. So please try to understand how this slicing is behaving in case of 2D array. So basically, if you are specifying you know, some slice value in the first dimension, then that you know, slice will act on the rows. Now, how you can act on different, you know, column values is, so we'll see. Let's say now print the items in the second column are so just now we have seen how we can fetch the values from different rows. Row wise values can be fetched. But if you are interested in, you know, fetching values column wise, then how this can be accomplished? So if I write print the items in the second column are like this, you can use this statement print A, then At the row side, you can simply mention dot 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 comma 1. So if I execute this code now, you'll see the item in the second column are this thing. So this 256, 258. So this value, this the value at the second column 258. So this will be returned by the this expression 8 dot 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 1. So dot 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 basically means you want to display all the rows, but first column on. So all the rows first column has been displayed. So this is the index of the column. This column 147 is at index 0. This column 258 is at index 1. And third column 369, this has an index value 2. So 1 means this column, this middle column with values 2, 5 and 8. And if you write it like this, 1 comma dot dot dot, so now the meaning changes. 1 dot 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 means okay, this is the row index and you want to print all the columns. You want to print all the columns of row with index 1, and that is this row 4, 5, 6. So I hope this expression is also clear to you now, how you can do the slicing. Now one more example we will take about indexing now. Let's see how indexing can be done. So for that, consider this array now. Let's say x is equal to empty dot array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I print x, it will display this array. And let me write now y is equal to x 0, 1, 2, comma 0, 1, 0. So what is the meaning now? If I print y. So see, now the index values that you have mentioned is 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 0. So how the system will take these values? So first element will be picked from this position 0 and 0. So if we see the value at this position at this index 0, 0, this is 1 basically 1. So it has row index 0, column index 0, 1. So 1 is displayed first. Second index is considered as this one and this one. That means to say row index 1, column index also 1. So what is that value? So this is row with index 1 and this is the column with index 1, and at their intersection we have 4. So this is how this second value is accessed. Then third item would be picked from this index, row index 2 and column index 0. So if I see the row with index 0, it is this row, and column with index 0, that is this column. So this 5 value. So hope this thing is clear to you, or I can also give you an idea that how this thing is being taken. So this 0 and this 0 is the first index 0, 0. Then this one and this one value is picked from this index then, and then this 0 and this 2 and this 0 third value is picked from this index. So you can see at 0, 0 this value is stored 1, at 1, 1 this value is stored 4, and at 2, 0 this value is stored. So these values are displayed in the output. This is 1, this is 4, and this is 5. So hope this thing is clear. Next we will see Boolean array indexing. Now, what does indexing mean? Let's consider another array. X is equal to np dot array as you know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and print x. So it is a 4 by 4, sorry, yes, 4 by 3 kind array, 4 by 3 size array, 4 rows and 3 columns. Now, if I print x greater than 5, then what will happen? See, the values which are greater than this number, those will be displayed. So this is how you can, do this Boolean array indexing. If I write x, value less than 9, so you will see it will fetch out all those values which are less than 9 out of this array. And if I print just this thing, so you'll see, how within the array it is giving me, fully Boolean expressions. At this location, this condition is true. At this location, this condition is false. So if you just print a condition, Boolean condition, then it will give you, the status of this expression in the whole array like this. But if you use it in the index, then it will give you the actual values. So please understand the difference between those. Print, then in square bracket x less than 9. So this is the Boolean expression. What is the status of this Boolean expression with respect to the whole, this array, this matrix? That would be displayed like this, in this form of true and false at the corresponding, row and column positions in the matrix. But if you use it in the index, if you use this expression x less than 9 in the as an index for this array, then the values would be fetched. Another important concept in NumPy array is also broadcasting. So let's try to understand what this broadcasting is. Again, for that we will consider a NP array. Let's NP array 10, 20, 30, 40. So this is first array, and let the second array be this one. So now see, now in this case we have two arrays. First array of size 4 by 4 and second array of size 1 by 4. Now these two are arrays of unequal sizes. Still you can go ahead with the addition of these arrays, subtraction of these arrays, or multiplication or division of these arrays element wise, because when you would be doing these operations on these two arrays, NumPy will use the concept of broadcast. So what effect broadcasting will produce on the output? Let's try to print the addition, subtraction, multiplication and division on these two arrays first. So if I say print A plus B, so you'll see still the system has done the addition. Although the sizes of two matrices being added is not same, they are of different size. So otherwise you cannot add two matrices if they are not of same size. But in NumPy array, because NumPy array uses the concept of broadcasting, the addition is possible. So what do we mean by broadcasting is that this row 1, 2, 3, 4, this is broadcasted to the first row, first element, to the second row, third row and fourth row, all the rows. And that's why this result is produced. For example, when this 1, 2, 3, 4 is broadcasted to first row, 10, 20, 30, 40, the sum becomes 11, 22, 33 and 34. Similarly, 1, 2, 3, 4 is broadcasted to second row also, third row also, fourth row also, and overall then this effect is produced. So similarly, if you want to perform other operations like element wise subtraction is there, element wise multiplication is there, element wise division is there, so you will see that NumPy is able to manage all the operations because it has used the concept of broadcasting. So see here also, if we see the second row 50, 1 has been broadcasted and 50 minus 1 is 49. If we consider the third row in third operation, multiplication, let's say 90, this one also gets broadcasted to this 90, so that's why the third value, first value in the third row is 90. So you can verify rest of the figures at your own, that how broadcasting has enabled the addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of these matrices which are of unequal sizes. Now we'll see how we can iterate over an array. Because this is another very basic requirement that is needed by the programmer or the designer who are doing coding in NumPy array. In NumPy, so how iteration can be done? Consider this example. Let's say A is equal to A dot np dot arrange. Total values in this case we will say, let's say 065. So if you remember, arrange function will generate a range of values starting from 0 up till 60, and those values would be equally spaced with step size value 5. And if I say A is equal to A dot reshape 3, 4, so because if you are getting values from 0 to 60, at equal distance of 5, you would be getting 12 values, and those 12 values can be arranged in this shape 3, 4, because 3, 4 shape also holds 12 values. So if I print A would be like this, 0 to 60, 12 values at a distance of 5 is the step size, and those values are reshaped in this form, 3 rows 4 columns. So this is how you get A. Now how iteration can be done? It would be like this: for x in np dot n dimension iteration. So for x in np dot n dimensional iteration, and the object that you are iterating is a, and if you write print x, you will see, it has iterated over all the values. So this is how iteration can be done. Now, if you take the transpose of this matrix and store it in B, let's say if I write B is equal to A dot T, what A dot T will give, A dot T will give the transpose of A and it will store it to B. Now if I iterate it over B, what will happen? Now see, here the iteration over is row wise, it's row major, 0, 5, 10, 15, then 20, 25, 30, 40, and then 40, 45, 50, 55. So the elements are iterated row wise. If you take the transpose, then again, the items are, iterated not now row wise according to matrix B, but in the same order as was done previously, because Python is using, is taking into consideration the memory representation. So in memory, these values are stored like this. So after 0, there is a fifth value, then 10, then 15, and so on. These are stored. So irrespective, whether you are looking at the values in row or major format or column major format, the iteration will produce iteration values, iteration result in the order in which values are stored in the memory. But yes, you have an option also to change this order. If you remember that in C++, C++ uses that row major format to store array values. But if we talk about other programming languages like Fortran is also there, Fortran uses column major order. So that thing can also be changed, and how that thing can be changed, let's take an example of that. So if while iterating, like in this case for x in np.iterating, you are mentioning the object that you are iterating, along with that you can mention the order also. Like if I say order is equal to C, and in the next loop let's say order is F, then you'll see these are two different iteration orders. So this 120 40 525 is 0 20 40, then 5 25 45, then 10 30 50. This is a column major format. And this iteration 0 5 10 15 and 20 25 30, this is a row major format. So this is how these arrays are treated in C programming language and in Fortran programming language. Okay, because here we are taking the transpose of A, so that's why C is producing results in column major format and Fortran is producing the results in row major format. But if you don't consider the transpose, you will see that C is using this row major format and Fortran is using this column major format. So this is how you can do iterating iteration over the array objects. Then modifying array values. You can modify array values. So this thing also we will see. So we will consider this array itself. Now see, if I copy this iteration like this, let's say I'm not interested in mentioning the order. I just want to iterate over A. First, let's check this code is running fine. Yes, it's some problem. Yes, this is fine. Now inside this for loop, if I'm trying to make changes like x, all the values I want to multiply it with 2, what will happen? See, system will give you this, error message, value error, assignment destination is read only. So that means to say that, NP array cannot be, changed on the fly like this. Now you can alter this flag. So at present, the flag is set to read only, that you can just read this value. You cannot overwrite it like this. But if you want to override the values, then you can set one flag equal to read write, and that flag is op underscore flags, changed like this, read write. So if along with the duration, if we change the flag value to read write using this, syntax op underscore flag is equal to read write, and now if you will, run the program, the values will also get changed. And at last, let's say not over here, but if over here, now you print the value of x, sorry, a. So you'll see the array object has got changed. All the values have been doubled at the corresponding positions. So you did it with the iterator, object. Initially, the iterator object was not, writable. You made it writable. You made the changes, and then if you will display the, matrix, you will see that changes have happened in the original array. So this is how you can, make changes in the array. Then, there is a function called flatten. So what the flatten function does is, it flats the array. That means it makes the all the values, one dimensional. So let's try to understand its behavior. If I write a is equal to np dot a range 8, because now these are 8 values, so these can be reshaped into this format 4,2 8, print a, and let me use b is equal to a dot flatten order is equal to, or initially we can go without this order value. So if I simply write b is equal to a dot flatten, and then if I print the value of b, let's see what happens. So you see the effect of flattens. This two-dimensional object, which there were 2 rows 4 columns, now this have been flattened into into 1D array, one-dimensional array. Now order, meaning of order can be like this, because there were 2 order values. One was for C specific system and the other was for Fortran specific system. So if I say order is equal to F, and second, if I, let's say, flatten with the value order is equal to C, you see you are getting different results, because one order is the row major order. So in that case, you are getting this thing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Second order is column major. So in that case, you are getting 1D array like this 0, 4, 1, 5, 2, 6, 7, 3. So I hope the meaning of flatten, what flatten does, it makes the array 1D, and how you can change the order with this order attribute, this thing is clear. Now we can go with concatenating arrays also. How arrays can be concatenated? Let's have a small demonstration. If I take a is equal to np dot array 1, 2, and 3,4, and take the second array as 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I print np dot concatenate a comma b, see what result it is producing. Only integer scalar arrays can be converted to scalar arrays. Some problem. So you'll see the effect of concatenation. So this was our first array 1, 2, 3, 4, second array 5, 6, 7, 8, and the effect of concatenation. So this concatenation has put this second array below the first array. So the third array, this concatenated array has now become this thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8. Now, while concatenating, you can mention the axis also. Axis means the dimension of this array. So because this is a two-dimensional array, there are only two axes. Axis is equal to 0 and axis is equal to 1. So by default, the axis has been considered as equal to 0, and this was the result. But if I mention another axis like this, if over here I put axis is equal to 1, then you will see that concatenation order has changed. Now this 5, 6, 7, 8 has been put alongside the first array. So let us display both the outputs. First concatenation with respect to axis 0, and then concatenation with respect to axis 1. So axes are nothing but the dimension. One is row dimension, second is the column dimension. So these are the original arrays. So if you concatenate along the axis 0, that is row wise, then this is the output. And if you concatenate along the axis equal to 1, which is column, then this is how arrays will get concatenated alongside columns. So actually NP array, NumPy array is full of such kind of functions, and you must be conversant with these functions, because these will act as a base for you to when you will be working with pandas or scikit-learn or OpenCV or any other major library or module of Python in different applications. So we'll continue in the next session. Few functions are left, and after that then we will start with the SciPy modules, like how linear algebraic operations can be done, and how operations can be performed on images using the NumPy array, because there is a close association between NumPy arrays and the images. So these things we will talk about in the next section, in the second session.
Okay.
So few more functions of NumPy, and then yes, Puneet.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. I think if we can wind up here only, because
yes, we are winding.
Half hour. So
okay, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
So we will start at 12:30 then.
Yes.
So few more commands of NP, and then we will start with that linear algebraic module of SciPy or interpolation, and then with the images.
And participants, if you have any query regarding this session or regarding the coding and all that, you can write. I think so. We can just have 5 minutes for the queries.
Okay, no problem.
So you can write in the chat box if you have any query hurriedly in the chat box. Otherwise, you can remind all the things you have learned in this session, and then give your queries in the starting of the next session, at the start of the next session.
So Bhavya is asking one question, sir. What is B represented in some examples? So B means byte representation of strings. So if you define the string like this, let's say A is equal to any string, and second representation, let's say B is equal to binary string. So the difference between these two strings is this is the byte formatted string, and here in this string the system has used some other coding mechanism. So there are many functions in NumPy and in many other modules also that act on byte represented strings. So if a function is representing B string, you need to make that string as a B string specifically exclusively like this by writing B in front of that string, and then you can go ahead. Otherwise you can create the normal string like this only. You can put them in single quotes. So in one the normal codecs are being used, and in second this is basically the byte representation. Khushi is also asking, sir, how can we remember all these different syntaxes? See, there is no shortcut for that. Just practice will make you perfect. Keep on, practicing more, and you will be able to remember the syntaxes. Yes, Ramesh is also asking how to keep in mind all these methods and their arguments, because there are a lot of methods. See. Currently, you just understand, okay, these functions, these features are available with the NumPy, and later on, when you are working on a specific application or project, and if you need some functionality, and at that point, you can, then you can go into the details of that function or go into the detail of that syntax. Obviously, you are 100% right, because there are, hundreds of functions and a lot of confusing syntaxes, especially related with the slicing and indexing, and it is not easy to remember all those things in the first go. But in the first go, just try to get the basic idea. Just try to get the feel. Okay, this is what NumPy is, and these are the different operations that can be performed on a NumPy array. And when the human practice more, when you will be working on a specific or particular application or project, when requirements would be more clear to you, so I think in that case you will appreciate more, so you will get a better learning in that case. But for the time being, okay, simply go ahead with this tutorial. Just try to understand, get a feel. Okay, these are the different functions available with NumPy. Don't try to remember, and when you work on the exact problems, and at that time you can go into the deep.
So
then Tarun is asking, sir, 3 dots in the basic syntax or 3 rows. So 3 dots means you want to consider all the values of that rows. So if your 3 dots are coming at the row side, you are actually mentioning, you are actually pointing to all the rows, and if 3 dots are coming at the column position, you are actually pointing to all the columns. Shreya is also asking, sir, what is the difference between concatenate and VStack? So VStack, vertical stack and horizontal stack, I am going to demonstrate in the next session. So, so there is no difference. So depending upon your choice, your compatibility, you can use any of these. Similarly, you will see that like when we added and subtracted matrices, we have other parallel functions available in the form of multiply or divide. So again, it is your choice, whatever functions you can take.
okay, so thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. And I think rest of the queries we can take in the next session. So
Sure.
Next session we will start sharp at 12:30. So all the participants are required to join by 12:25 sharp. And about the attendance, participants are asking about the attendance form. Attendance will be given in the next session today. So we can leave the meeting now, so that we can come back after after an hour and join back again. Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.